It ain't nothing but a number. The unemployment rate falling below 6% for the first time in more than 6 years. But if the labor force participation rate was the same now as it was when the president took office, that's what the unemployment rate would actually be, over 10%. The only reason why it's so low is because everyone has given up. Let's bring in Peter Morici. He's an economist at the University of Maryland. Charles Payne and Scott Martin are back with us as well. Before we dissect this, I do want to give Charles a proper shout out because this was his prediction for the number today. Let's listen.
All right, well, I'm going to go with, I'm close to Heatha now. I'm going with 250,000 and a revision of 60,000 in August. And I think the Dow goes up 200 points.
How did you know that? Charles Payne, how did you do that? The Dow is up 211 points. It was 248. You picked 250, and there was a revision.
Not too bad.
It wasn't quite 60, but it was close. Who gave you the information ahead of time, and did you trade on it, Charles?
Well, my clients are making a lot of money, and people who watch my show are making huge money, particularly on Mobileye. But I think Peter Morici probably subliminally gave me that.
Hey, Charles, how are the Giants going to do this weekend, by the way? Charles, quit while you're ahead.
I want to get back to the serious stuff because it really bugs me that you know, I think a lot of other media is going to focus on the unemployment rate and it falling. And they're not taking into account that the labor force participation rate is at the same level it was in 1978. Peter Morici.
Well, think about this. All the women that have entered the labor force, and yet we're at the lowest level. 1 out of every 6 men between the ages of 25 and 54, too old to be in school, too young to retire, are not working. That is an enormous story of great consequence. This economy simply is not creating anywhere near the kinds of jobs that it could and should create.
Yeah.
In this century, it's created about 6.5 million jobs. Over the prior 20 years, over 40 million jobs.
Scotty, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at that note, too, about the 6.5 million, you go back in history, with that kind of job growth, Melissa, seeing average hourly earnings only grow less than 2% over the last 12 months is
and they dropped
completely
in this report. They actually dropped.
Terrible. That's right. It's absolutely terrible. If you go back to all these recoveries that Peter talked about, this is the worst average hourly earnings growth we've ever had. So, again, to that point, part-time workers and employers not having to pay workers even more is terrible for the economy.
You mentioned the president, and by the way, it's day 2 of his victory lap on the economy. Today, he's at a steel factory in Indiana, touting manufacturing job creation. It's incredible. Fox Business's Jeff Flock joins me now from Evanston, Illinois, with a look at the industry. I mean, how's his report card shaping up on this front, Jeff?
You know, even our old friend Ed Schultz over there at MSNBC said, when he talked about manufacturing jobs, he said, we got to get the truth meter out on this. It's actually not been as much of a positive as you might think. This is a company, though, in Evanston, Illinois. It's called ERMCO. They make solvents, or not solvents, but lubricants for the automotive industry, for the stamping. They've done well because of automotive. But I'll tell you, if you look at the numbers, Melissa, the president has pledged 1 million new jobs in his second term. The glass at this point, the term may be half over, but the glass is about a quarter full. And Jennifer, if it wasn't for the automotive industry, you wouldn't have much growth at all, would you?
No, not at all. We're 80% in the auto industry.
Yeah, and that's done actually pretty well. If you look at the numbers, Melissa, and put the truth meter on it, as Ed Schultz said, he's created about 9,000 jobs a month over the course of the second term. You need to average another 30,000 more a month if you want to get to the goal. And I don't know, what do you feel like about the economy going forward? You positive, negative?
Oh, very positive. I think it's great. I think it's doing really well, especially with the auto industry.
I was going to say, if it wasn't for that auto industry.
It's great, and I think everything's doing really well, what I see.
Yeah, gotcha. I leave you with one more chart, and that is the total number of jobs. We're at, I think, 12 million in manufacturing, 12.2 million in manufacturing. Jobs that you see going right here. This, by the way, that process you're looking at, Melissa, that looks like oil. It's actually water-based lubricants that they do here. So everybody getting green these days.
Jeff Flock, thank you so much for that. I think half our audience would like to move to wherever she is, that she's seeing things get so much better because the rest of us are not. Anyway, thank you so much. So the president is set to tout the country's economic progress once again later this afternoon. He spoke about the economy yesterday, but veered off track, instead taking jabs at Fox News and playing politics in a speech he himself deemed non-political. I also want to correct Jeff Flock's math, because he said that we were about a quarter of the way there. We're less than 1/5. So we can't, a quarter would be good from here. Peter Morici, what is your reaction to all of these things?
Well, I think the president is trying to put a smile on what is a bad situation. You notice he wasn't talking about how great the economy is, in a press conference with the mayor of the city of Detroit. Instead, he's cherry picking. He's going to an industry that he's heavily subsidized and bailed out. And sure, they're feeling better in the auto sector and people that supply it. But the rest of manufacturing, we're just not creating very many jobs. If you subtract the manufacturing jobs from that 189,000 that we had in the bar graph, we'd be 1/10 of the way there. The man is simply not keeping his promises. And this is a wipeout.
Yeah, and Charles Payne, I don't know, he says it's not a political speech. He took time out, to talk about the people at Fox News. You're like...
It's really very disappointing. It's very unpresidential.
Not presidential.
It's very unpresidential. And, listen, I'm surprised he doesn't go to the oldest trick in the book, and that's blame Bush. The bottom line is no, really, and the media lets him get away with this. It's just like we're talking about this unemployment number. No one's going to talk about wages. No one. Then what they also let him do? They let him say or suggest that, what's happening with participation are just old people leaving the jobs market.
Right.
Their
participation rate has gone up. It's young people who've lost faith in the American dream, and he's got to take the hit for that.
Who actually voted for Obama, too, in the last election, by the way.
Yeah, we're going to leave it there. Thanks to all three of you.